first things first there, chat. For everybody who's been watching the day one of Nationals, of course, you guys have been tuning in for quite some time. What an impressive feature match in terms of TCG land specifically for North America Nationals. Now, what I'm going to do for you guys is that in this specific video, I'm going to help you guys out that we as the TCG community are going to hold each other by the hand, and when it comes to learning new cards and very old. So before we get things started on the discussion, for starters, because this is a Master Duel for one, I already know for that fact that the new cards came out in TCG while Master Duel is far behind. So to ensure of going over every single card, the ones from here and TCG included, the ones that were released from the TCG, I will leave the links from the description or the comments below to make sure that all of the cards can be seen as much as we can. So we, once again, as the TCG community, are going to hold each other by the hand. And with that being said, let us go over Ancient Gears stuff. So, first things first on Ancient Gears. The way it works is that most of the times they tend to utilize upon attack declaration to make sure no effects can be triggered at the start of the damage step. Sometimes Ancient Gears, not all of them, have piercing, find ways to shut off, and many more. So Ancient Gears happens to be a series. Let us go over every single thing about Ancient Gears. Ancient Gears happens to be a series of Earth machines, while the Chaos Ancient Gear Giant is a Dark machine. Basically, all of them are machines. Everybody that's not the Chaos Giant are Earths, while the Chaos Giant is a Dark. Now, to go over literally every single Ancient Gear card, we're going to start backwards and then we will work our way up. So we got 2 traps, 12 spells, 1 link, 4 fusions, and then technically 17 monsters. But if you really want to count the Toon Gear Golem, Toon Gear Golem is literally Gear Golem, just not the Toon kind. So 18 monsters basically. So to go over the Ancient Gear stuff, we're going to start backwards and then we will work our way up. Start off with the trap's smallest amount. Cross-dimensional duel. Target one Ancient Gear monster you control, banish it. During the next standby phase, return that banished monster back to the field, and if you do, its attack becomes double its original attack until the end of that turn. If one or more Ancient Gear Golem or ultimate pound you control will be killed by battle or card effect. Banish this from your graveyard instead. Okay, so built-in double the attack, and on top of that, saving grace for the gear golem and or ultimate pounds. Interesting. And what's even more crazy about cross-dimensional duel is that none of those effects are hard once per turns, which is nice. And if the cross-dimensional duel gets going, it gets going, because the fact that it's a normal trap, that means you can trap trick the mess out of it. Ancient Gear Reborn. Continuous trap. You can only control one Ancient Gear Reborn at a time, and then once per turn, if you control no monsters, target one Ancient Gear monster in your graveyard, special it out, and if you do, extra 200 attack boost even if it leaves. So the reborn part is nice, and even if the continuous trap leaves, the extra 200 attack boost is still there, which is super nice. Now, the Ancient Gear spells. Ancient Gear Factory. Normal spell. Reveal one level 5 or higher Ancient Gear monster from your hand, then banish a number of Ancient Gear monsters from your graveyard whose combined levels are double the revealed monsters, and if you normal summon the revealed monster this turn, you must normal summon it without tribute. The normal summon without tribute is nice, but at the same time, we got the field spell, aka Gear Town, to utilize that, which we will sooner rather than later will come up in progress. Ancient Gear Drill. Normal spell. If you control an Ancient Gear monster, doesn't matter which one, discard one card, set one spell card straight from your deck. This turn, that spell card cannot be activated. Getting one spell in general is super good, but the thing is, controlling an Ancient Gear, again, it's not hard to do if you run Ancient Gears, and it's not even once per turn, which is extra nice. Ancient Gear Explosive. Not once. Target one Ancient Gear monster you control, kill it, and if you do, burn your opponent equal to half its original attack. The case is, the bigger the original attack, the bigger the damage in terms of half of it to the opponent. Ancient Gear Explosive can help you out close games if for some reason you can't finish off lethal. Ancient Gear Workshop. Not once per turn, recursion of one Ancient Gear monster from your graveyard. So most cases, target one Ancient Gear monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. Simple. Spell Gear. Send 3 face-up Ancient Gear cards, spells and traps included, you control to the graveyard. Special summon up to one Ancient Gear Golem from your hand and up to one from your deck, ignoring the summoning conditions. Then, if you control a monster other than Ancient Gear Golem, destroy all monsters you control except Ancient Gear Golems. The turn you do this, you cannot normal summon / set until the end of your next turn. Harsh on a restriction, but the trade-off is getting at least 2 Ancient Gear Golems. Sounds nice, but at the same time, it's where, like, if your opponent doesn't find a way to stop those golems by the time the battle phase comes up, it's basically game over on the spot. Ancient Gear Catapult. One effect per turn and only once that turn, so one effect or the other, can't do both. you either, while you control no monsters, target one face-up card you control, kill it, and it can do special summon one Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning condition. That's option A. And then option B, which is you can banish this, target one face-up card you control, kill it, and it can do generate one Ancient Gear token. Level 1 Earth Machine, no stats. Ancient Gear Fusion, we know what's up with Ancient Gear Fusion, aside from the fusion summoning shtick, but the twist is, if you use Ancient Gear Golem or Ultimate Pound as material, you can also use monsters from your deck as material. This is literally branded fusion for Ancient Gears. Absolutely insane, I tell you. Ancient Gear Tank, equip spell. You can only hook it up to an Ancient Gear, obviously. Extra 600 attack, nice. Upon being destroyed and sent to the graveyard, burn your opponent 600. This is literally Black Pendant of Ancient Gears, but 600. And the thing is, it has to be destroyed for this to work. Ancient Gear Fist. Aside from hooking it up to an Ancient Gear, of course, at the end of the damage step, if the equipped monster battled a monster and is still alive on the field, destroy the monster it battled. Gear Town. The MVP of Ancient Gear spells in general. One of the MVP of the Ancient Gear spells. Both players can normal summon Ancient Gear monsters for one less tribute. Upon being destroyed and sent to the graveyard, special summon one Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. Not once a turn, by the way. When it comes to Gear Town, crazy. Ancient Gear Castle. All Ancient Gear monsters everywhere on the field gain 300 attack. Each time a monster is normal summoned / set, place one counter on this. If you tribute summon an Ancient Gear monster face up, you can tribute this card instead if the number of its counters is equal to or greater than the number of required tributes. Realistically, about the castle, the attack boosting is nice. At the same time, is where getting counters off from castle is like really hard to do for one, but at the same time, most of the time about the castle is where like keeping this on the field for the boost is extremely relevant, so that way you can start swinging over bigger monsters. Ancient Gear Fortress. The other MVP of Ancient Gear spells. And this is the part where you have to pay attention in terms of, in order for you to stop Ancient Gears in any shape or form. If you want to interrupt Ancient Gears, get rid of this Ancient Gear Fortress card. During the turn they were normal or special summon, your opponent cannot target Ancient Gear monsters you control within card effects, and they cannot be killed by opponent's card effects. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to the activation of Ancient Gear cards and effects, which is insane. And if for some reason this card gets outed and killed in the spell trap zone, special one Ancient Gear monster from your hand or graveyard. Also, the turn you do this, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except Ancient Gear monsters. Now, onwards to the monsters. Main deck monsters. So, let me just get this out of the way. Toon Ancient Gear Golem and regular Ancient Gear Golem, both are literally do the same thing, which is pierce battle damage, and most Ancient Gears share the same thing, which is upon attacking, keyword most Ancient Gears, not all of them, upon attacking, you cannot use spells or traps or like monster effects until the end of the damage step, yada yada yada, and so on. So regular Ancient Gear Golem and Toon Gear Golem both attack and defense, pierce damage, and then upon attacking cannot activate spells and traps until the end of the damage step. Basically, one is a Toon and one is regular Gear Golem. One can attack, the other cannot, as in cannot attack the turn it is summoned. And obviously, aside from the Toon shtick of things, in terms of direct attack. So, we got the Gear Golems out the way. Two of them, of course. And of course, Ultimate Pound can't be specialed simple. Pierce battle damage, if it attacks the defense, that is, up to twice per turn. When this attacking card kills a monster by battle, discard one machine. This card can attack again in a row. And if for some reason this card gets outed, as in killed by battle or card effect, add one polymerization, specifically polymerization, from deck to hand, and it can do add one other Ancient Gear monster from your graveyard to your hand. Other copies included, by the way. Pause champ. Alright. Ancient Gear. Literally Ancient Gear. If you control an Ancient Gear, you can special summon this card from your hand in the tap position. Ancient Gear Cannon. You contribute this card, burn your opponent 500, and it can do no one can activate trap cards during the battle phase of this turn. Not once per turn on a burn, by the way. Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. Upon normal summon, burn your opponent for 600. If this card attacks, can trigger spells and traps until the end of the damage step, and then once per turn, perform a fusion summon of one Ancient Gear fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as material. Not once per turn on the burn 600, and soft once per turn fuse summon, by the way. Crazy. Ancient Gear Soldiers. The good old Ancient Gear Things, as I call it for the effect. And then Ancient Gear Knight. Gemini Monster, of course. When it comes to Geminis, you normal summon it twice, unless if you have the equip card called Supervise. Turning the regular Gemini monsters into effect monsters, in terms of Ancient Gear Knight specifically, gains the supernatural effect. Ancient Gear Things, as in upon attacking, your opponent cannot activate spells or traps until the end of the damage step. Ancient Gear Box. Now, Box is one of those different ones, aside from the usual offensive Ancient Gear things. Hard once per turn on the effect of Box. Upon being added from deck or graveyard to your hand that's not drawing, of course, add one Earth Machine with 500 attack and or defense from deck to hand that isn't Ancient Gear Box. Ancient Gear Gadget. If this card is normal or special, declare one card type, monster, spell, or trap. This turn, if your monster attacks, let me rephrase this again, ladies and gentlemen, because I don't think y'all heard me. If your monster attacks, and it doesn't matter what monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell check cards or monster effects, whichever was declared, until the end of the damage step. And the first effect, this can be done multiple times in the same turn. Once per turn, declare one gadget monster's card name. Until the end phase, this card's name becomes that. Ancient Gear Wyvern. In this one, in terms of attack declaration, rather than the no spells or trap policy, your opponent cannot activate monster effects until the end of the damage step. And then the first effect of Ancient Gear Wyvern is a hard once per turn. The case is, upon normal or special, add one Ancient Gear card, spell/trap included, that isn't Wyvern from deck to hand. Also, you cannot set cards for the rest of this turn. Ancient Gear Frame. Discard one card, add one Ancient Gear Golem or one spell trap that mentions it being Gear Golem from deck to hand. Hard once on the discard search effect of Gear Frame. If this card attacks, Ancient Gear Things, spell traps cannot be triggered to the end of the damage step. In this one, for Gear Frame, if this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field, that's not going back to the deck because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon up to 3 Ancient Gear Golem and or Ultimate Pound from your hand, ignoring their summoning conditions. Gross. Ancient Gear Engineer. Aside from the usual Ancient Gear things of no spell trap policy upon attacking, negate any trap cards or trap effects, that target this card. And if you do, kill that trap. And that effect is a continuous effect. It does not activate. At the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, target one spell trap your opponent controls, kill it. So Engineer is literally Amazoness Sage of Ancient Gears. This is one of the best Ancient Gears in history to me from back in the day. Ancient Gear Beast. Can't be special, simple. Ancient Gear Things, no spell trap policy, of course. In this one for Ancient Gear Beast, this is why I said this card happens to be my favorite from back in the day. Negate the effects of an opponent's monsters killed by battle with this card, including the ones from the graveyard. Basically, any monster that gets ran over by Ancient Gear Beast, you're not going to have any effects when it gets sent to the graveyard or once it hits the graveyard. Ancient Gear Gadgetron Chimera. Gadgetron Chimera. There we go. Based off from the appropriate effects in terms of normal summon by tributing off any of these monsters as follows. Okay, so the 3 tributes, well, any of the 3 monsters in terms of tributes, any of the following gadgets. Green, 300 boost for this card itself. Red, if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, burn your opponent 500. Yellow, if this card kills an opponent's monster by battle, burn your opponent 700. Ancient Gear Hydra. At the end of the damage step, when this card that was tribute summoned by tributing an Ancient Gear monster battles an opponent's monster, but for some reason that opponent's monster was not destroyed by battle, you can banish that opponent's monster. So basically, if for some reason that monster is still alive, it's basically Amazoness Onslaught, but for Ancient Gears. If this card was tribute summoned by using a gadget monster, swings multiple monsters once each. So built in Asura Priest, if you happen to tribute a gadget. And then if an Ancient Gear monster you control attacks, and it doesn't matter what Ancient Gear monster it is, your opponent cannot activate spell traps and monster effects until the end of the damage step. Oh, this is another butcher moment. Ancient Gear Gadgetron Dragon. Ancient Gear things, of course, no spell trap policy upon attacking, and based off from the tributing monsters, it gains the appropriate effects based off from the colored gadgets. Green, pierce battle damage if it were to attack a defense. Red, if it does battle damage to your opponent, burn your opponent for 400. Yellow, if this card kills an opponent's monster by battle, burn your opponent 600. Ancient Gear Reactor Dragon. If this card that was tribute summoned by tributing an Ancient Gear monster attacks a defense monster, pierce battle damage. If it were to be tributing by a gadget, however, second attack in a row as of each battle phase. If this card attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell track cards and monster effects until the end of the damage step. And then at the end of the damage step, if this card attacked, you can destroy one spell trap anywhere on the field. So once again, built-in Amazoness Sage of Ancient Gears. Now, the extra deck. Ancient Gear Howitzer. 2 Ancient Gears is what it takes to make it. Unaffected by everything else, towers. During your main phase, burn your opponent 1,000. Once per turn on a burn. Hard once. And then if this card on the field gets outed, as in killed by battle and sent to the grave, special 1 Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning condition. Ancient Gear Megaton Golem. 3 Ancient Gears is what it takes to make it. If it attacks Ancient Gear things, no spell trap policy. If this card was fusion summoned using 2 or more Ancient Gear Golems and or Ultimate Pound as material, it can attack up to that many times during each battle phase. That is gross. If this face-up fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field, that's not going back to the extra deck because of an opponent's card effect, special 1 Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem from your extra deck, ignoring the summoning condition. And speaking of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, there it is. Ancient Gear Golem plus 2 Ancient Gear monsters to make it. Must be fuse summoned, no other ways doing so. But in terms of ignoring condition, Megaton can help you get this guy out. Pierce spell damage if it attacks a defense. Ancient Gear things, no spell trap policy upon attacking. If this card gets killed, doesn't matter how it gets killed, target one Ancient Gear Golem in your graveyard, special it out, ignoring its summoning conditions. Ancient Gear Ballista. 2 Earth Machines is what it takes to make it, not just Ancient Gears. 2 Earth Machines in general to make it. It could be something like Ancient Gears, Desk Bots, Scraps, whatever Earth Machines you guys can think of, Ballista is the way to make it. Upon Link Summon, so first chance, Ballista gets Link Summon, add 1 Ancient Gear monster or Gear Town from deck to hand, and then target 1 spell trap you control, and 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, kill that card you control, and if you do, change the attack and defense of that opponent's monsters to 0 until the end of this turn. Each effect of Ballista once. And last, but certainly not least, the game finisher. Chaos Ancient Gear Giant. 4 Ancient Gear monsters is what it takes to make this. Must be fusion summoned, no other ways. Unaffected by spell traps in terms of the effects. Your opponent cannot activate monster effects during the battle phase. Swings multiple monsters once each. If it attacks a defense monster, pierce battle damage. So, it's a Apocryphal Towers of Back Row, Odd Eyes Media Burst, and Invoked Purgatrio all in one card. Quite the custom card this is, I tell ya. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the whole entire guide of Ancient Gears. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you haven't already, smash the notification bell to keep yourself constantly updated. And we'll catch you guys next time.